Email.
Still email? Are you a fan of handwritten cards at all?
No.
Nope.
No. Now, my wife is a Southern girl, so she does thank you cards, a lot of thank you cards. And it's not just limited to Southern girls either. And I understand, I mean, I think those are nice, and it does allow you to give a nice personalized message. I think that's a fair amount of extra work for you as a student. And there are so many ancillary costs associated with pursuing residency. I don't think thank you cards, even though that's a small one, I don't think you should add thank you cards to the list necessarily. Also, I have terrible penmanship, and most people do now because almost nobody actually writes anymore.
Sure.
So their penmanship usually is not great, and it's really difficult on the small thank you cards to sort of say all the things that you would want to say.
Our team, I would say, always appreciates handwritten or electronic thank you notes. But that being said, we don't deduct points off of the interview score because you never know if the thank you note is still in the mail. And that sounds kind of silly, but I would hate to deduct points from someone that then impacted their ability to match if their thank you letter then came a week later or was stuck in our mail system somehow. So I think that I would definitely do it. And I don't care whether it's handwritten or electronic. I think some people think electronic's better just to get it out of the way, and which is fine. It doesn't bother me, but we don't deduct points if not.
I'm kind of old school, so I like handwritten letters. I think, especially in today's day and age, everything is so fast-paced. For someone to sit down and write a handwritten thank you really shows that you're taking the time and you care enough to put in that effort and do that. And we do send out all of our handwritten thank you notes to all of our preceptors so that they can see who did that as well. But I also think if you don't have time, or maybe you have terrible handwriting, that sending a follow-up email thank you is not, that's appropriate as well. At least you're following up and thanking them for their time. So either one I think would be appropriate, but I do think it's important to follow up and kind of close the loop, if you will, of the application interview cycle.
I live on email. I don't live on, paper.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody really ever does. But it's easier for me to file away an email and then pull it back out when I search for it and pull it back out when somebody applies than, my stack of thank you cards that I might get from a meeting, even if it's just 5. Still have to look for it. It's not that easy. It's much faster to look for it, in my email. Same with business cards, honestly.
Yeah.
I know everybody loves business cards, and they're cheap now to do. But to me, having your email and your contact information in email is better than a business card, because I can lose that too.
Okay.
Much easier than I can lose your email.
So we, at our in-person showcases, we've always had sign-in sheets. So we didn't really need CVs or business cards, but we would take them. But we wouldn't use that CV to evaluate them, because we're not going to evaluate them until we do forecasts anyway. So in that aspect, and your CV might change between October 15th and when you submit it on December 31st. So they don't really have a lot of use for us, but we would accept them happily.
I don't necessarily advise that, especially when you're thinking about like mid-year, people don't want to travel with all those paper documents. Usually if you're sending an email, for example, your signature will have most of your information as well. Certainly if they request that, I would send it, but otherwise they will see that with your application and forecast. So I don't think it's necessary to do that.